All right, greetings everybody. Welcome back to the FCS Prep Podcast, where I am your host, Dr. Keith Fairclough. And guys, today we're going to be talking about self-confidence. Yes, self-confidence. So important. It's something I've been running into, talking to people about, sharing with them about self-confidence, what it is, how to build it up. And so I just only think it's right, fair, and it makes sense to go ahead and share it with you guys as well, and just have this body of knowledge just here for us so we can always come back to it and learn that, hey, it's not a matter of, we'll get into it. But before we get into it, you already know what time it is. Yes, make sure you like, make sure you're commenting, you subscribe, you share. Someone is going to need this. Someone's going to know how to build up their self-confidence, understand what self-confidence is, and recognize that they may not be as far away from where they want to be as far as how they feel about themselves regarding their confidence and their ability to do the things they're setting out to do. They may need that reminder. Without further ado, and I kind of let the cat out the bag a little bit, but in any case, let's get into it, all right? Let's do this. Self-confidence, what is it? Sometimes we ask people, what self-confidence is, and they say, it's how I feel about myself. It's my ability to walk in a room and just command respect. It's my ability to never be afraid. And these are all great things, and these all somewhat tie into self-confidence, but they're not in and of themselves self-confidence. And I think sometimes, we make it more complicated than it actually is, which makes us feel like we don't have it, right? Because not everybody can walk into a room and just command respect and everyone's eyes on them, right? But even if you can, it does not necessarily mean that it equates to self-confidence. Like that's someone that's self-confident, right? Because there are plenty of people who we would think would be super confident, but in reality, the way they're looking at it, the way they're defining it, they're really insecure. Which that, again, doesn't necessarily have to, it's different. I'm telling you, it's different, guys. It's different. Because what self-confidence is, it's simple. It's your belief that you're going to do what you said you were going to do. That's it. That is all self-confidence is. It's not some superhero, flying through the sky. It's not, speaking in front of hundreds of people. That's not it. Those things are good. There's some correlation there, but those in and of themselves, that's not self-confidence. Self-confidence is simply, did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I achieve the goal that I set for myself? That is what self-confidence is. And so when people ask me or they say I'm not really confident, I don't have any confidence, or I'm not really confident in myself, I have to question them on that, right? And the reason why, this leads into the next question, what is low self-confidence? What does that mean? Low self-confidence is the lack of your belief or the inconsistency in between what you say you're going to do and what you do. That's it. You say you're going to work out, but you don't work out. You say you're going to get up early, but you don't get up early. You say you're going to get up and read that book or go running, and you don't read the book and you don't go running. You say you're going to be there for your kids. You're not there for your kids. It's just simply that. You're not doing what you said you're going to do. And what this does, what we see as low self-confidence, is really this part is really the dissonance within us. Because if we're not doing what we said we're supposed to do, our brain and our mind's like, we said we're going to do this, but we didn't do it, right? And again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there, right, in this, but just keep it simple for right now. The dissonance is there. It's like, dang, I said I was going to do that, but I didn't do it. And I always do that, and then it starts to do all this spiraling out of control, right? We don't want to continue to do that, right? We don't want to continue to do that. But let me give you guys a little glimmer of hope, right? Actually, big glimmer of hope, at least in my opinion, big glimmer of hope. It's not a matter of low self-confidence. Let me just say this, and it's going to sound strange and whatever, but listen, low self-confidence actually doesn't really exist. I'm going to tell you why. Low self-confidence is the idea that, like I just said, you're not doing what you said you were going to do. However, we have not gotten as far as we have gotten without there being some type of pattern of us doing what we said we were going to do. We have a lot of achievements, a lot of victories, a lot of success, a lot of progress under our belt in some way, shape, or form across the span of our life that has gotten us to where we are today. Lots of things. And that means there's lots of things that we did and we said we were going to do them. Lots of them. Whether you planned that out or not, there are lots of things you said you were going to do and you have done them. So you have to ask yourself the question, well, why don't I feel like I can take on the world? Why don't I feel like I can command a room? Why do I have this feeling of what's being labeled as low self-confidence? Why is that? I'll tell you right now, the reason you are having that feeling is because you're only focusing on the events that you didn't do. You're only focusing on your failures. You're only focusing on those things. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, it's not your fault. Let me repeat, and I'll say it again. It is not your fault. How is it not your fault? Because the way our brain is set up to always keep us safe. Everything it does is to keep this system going, living, moving, breathing. And anything that threatens the system or potentially threatens the system is going to be focused on. And anything that doesn't threaten the system is not going to be focused on. Although you have a whole lifetime of victories and achievements and successes and progress, you have a lifetime of that. In so many different ways, your mind doesn't focus on those things. Why? Because your mind says, those aren't dangerous. Good things aren't threats to the system. Only bad things are. Only losing in a game and missing a game-winning shot, because guess what? Everyone's going to hate you and you're going to be rejected and we're going to be alone. And the reason why, let me explain something to you guys real quick. I know we talked a little bit about this in some previous podcasts. Let me just real quick overview. The reason why we fear rejection so bad is because back in the day, rejection led to being an outcast. Being an outcast meant death. When you were separated from your tribe or separated from your people, it meant death. So our brain hasn't left from that space. It hasn't left that ridicule, the fear of being ridiculed, the fear of look like a fool in front of people. All those fears lead to rejection. That rejection is associated and closely tied to the fear of death. What is death? Death is the ultimate threat to the system. So our brain does everything in its power to make sure that we don't die, that we're not rejected, that we're not ridiculed, that we're not abandoned. That's our brain at work doing what it does best to help us. Unfortunately, we know how detrimental this is. There was a quote by Benjamin Franklin. I'm going to paraphrase it though, because I like actually the paraphrasing better. The paraphrase quote goes, those who give up freedom for safety and security end up losing both. So our brain is giving up freedom. It's giving up the freedom to go out there and push limits and push boundaries. It's giving that up in order for security and safety. But what happens if we're not confident? What happens if we don't push our boundaries and push our limits? What happens when we give up too easily because we're scared of rejection? We're scared of abandonment. We're scared of all these things. What happens? We close off. We shut down. We don't make progress. And if you've been listening to me at any point in time, if you're not making progress, you're regressing. If you're not living, you're dying. Like, if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, we can't just sit there in our bubble doing nothing. Because if we do, we're going to die. We're going to die spiritually. We're going to die physically. We're going to die mentally. We're going to die emotionally. We're going to die educationally. We're going to die in all these ways before the finality of it comes and when the whole system dies altogether. I am not being over dramatic when I say this. This is how our brain operates. This is the information it's pulling from. That's why it views these things as such threats and why it focuses heavily on the negative. We don't have to stay that way. And our brain, as powerful as it is still under our control. We tell it what to do. We program it with what we want to program it with. That's up to us. So anyone who's thinking like, oh, maybe I'm just born this way, this is just the way I am, please get that stuff out of your head. Please, please, please get that out of your head. Stop putting labels on yourself so you don't have to try and you don't have to do something. Stop putting labels on yourself because you tried a couple of things that didn't work. Don't do that. You're not born this way. We're not born having low confidence. We're not born that way. We're not born just focusing on the negative like that. Like I said, biologically, yes, it's there, but that's just the default. That's the brain saying, well, you didn't tell us to do anything else, so we're just going to go by with the default. But hey, when you're ready for us to move, hey, we'll move. It's on us. So we're not born this way. You may say, well, but my mom and my dad and my uncle and my sister and my brother and my cousin and my grandma, talking about generational patterns, generational curses and things like that. That's not genetic. That's behavioral. And the reason why we pull from these people all around us because we grow up with them and we see them and we learn from them. They're a major source for us of education and learning and how to operate in this world. So by the time we're 7 years old, we've already picked up on their patterns. That is why a lot of times we will be not recognize the confidence we do have. So that's self-confidence. That's what it looks like when we have low self-confidence. Really, we're not identifying or looking at the confidence that we have within us because we're focusing on the negative. Now, how do we break this? Let's hop into the strategies. Strategy number 1 is we gotta correct the cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are just a way of saying that we're looking at things through a bad lens. We're looking at things through a distorted lens. That's all the cognitive distortion is. Keep it simple. You can look it up anywhere online. They have lists. They talk about the different ones and what they mean and all that stuff like that. I'm not going into detail here because those lists are already pretty good. I might put one in the description below, but don't hold me to it. If it's there, great. If it's not, it's probably because I moved on to another project or something. Cognitive distortions. All they are is a bad lens that we're looking at a situation through. One of the best ways to break a cognitive distortion is instead of just taking what you're thinking and just running with it, oh, I can't believe they cut me off. They're so hurtful. How could they disrespect me like that? Oh, I can't believe she's talked to me that way. Oh, but instead of doing all that, stop for a second and just ask, okay, well, I noticed that thought, but what else could it mean? Oh, maybe he's in a rush because he's trying to get to work. Maybe he wasn't paying attention. Maybe he's jamming out to music in the car. Maybe she had a bad day. Maybe the reason why they had an attitude with me was because they just got a divorce. Maybe the reason they, weren't so happy was because maybe someone died in their family. We have to remember, we are not Jesus Christ. We are not God. We do not know what's in someone else's mind, so we cannot go with an assumption like, oh, that's what it is. We can't do that. Those are distortions. We have to ask ourselves the question, slow down, take a deep breath. You can go to the guided breathing video to learn how to deep breathe. That is a little plug for FCS, just saying. But take a deep breath, calm down, relax, and stop and think, what else could this mean? Could they be going through something else? Could they just not be thinking? And then have I been in a situation like that before? Have I cut somebody off? Have I been snappy? What was I like in that state? How would I want someone to treat me if I was in that state? Just stop and start thinking about these things. When you start thinking about these things, you'll recognize that your cognitive distortion was pretty left field, pretty out there. It's not too often that our distortions line up with reality, because then if it lines up with reality, then it's not a distortion. It is what it is. It's not often that it lines up. Sometimes it does, but I would rather take the opportunity to take a step back and just breathe and say, you know what? Let me think of some other alternatives. What other things could this possibly mean? First one, correct the cognitive distortions. Second one, think positive. Like I said, our default is negative because negative keeps us alive. Think positive. What we need to do is, I strongly recommend this, you need to make a daily gratitude list. I cannot stress this enough. You need to make a daily gratitude list where you put 3 things down that you're grateful for every single day, and do not qualify them. Do not qualify. Don't stop and think, well, it's not that big of a deal. Listen, The things that you're grateful for are things other people are praying for. The things that you're grateful for and you got in your life right now, there are people who wish to God they had that right now. There are people who lost their spouses. You're angry at your spouse. You're pissy at your spouse. There are people that lost their spouse and say, I wish to God I would trade places with you in a heartbeat to have and hear my spouse one more time. You're mad at your kids and yelling at them, screaming and cussing at them and fussing at them. There are people that can't have children and wish to God they can be in your place. Dinner wasn't that great. There's some people that are eating dirt right now that wish they had the flavorless chicken or the meatloaf that wasn't a little dry. The people that wish they had that. So don't qualify anything. If you got it in your life and it's blessing you in some kind of way, you need to write that down. And I'm talking about everything, down to your shoelaces, the little thing at the end of your shoelaces, putting your key in the lock and turning it. I'm talking about all the smallest things, being able to open your eyes, having eyelashes, whatever you can think of. I want you to do that. And I want you to do that for at least 60 days, 60 consecutive days. I want you to write 3 different things. Do not repeat. Do not repeat. Every single day should be 3 different things. And when you do that, you program your mind to find the positive. And when you find the positive, then you can start reconnecting all of your victories and all those things and all your accomplishments and all the things that build up your confidence. You'll be able to start connecting those and disconnecting all the negatives. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So I want you to think positive. Train your brain to find the good in every situation. The next thing I want you guys to do, track your achievements, track your successes, track your victories. And again, don't qualify them. You know the reason why I say don't qualify them? Not just because we need to be grateful in those situations or whatnot, or, we need to, because your brain doesn't qualify them. Your brain doesn't qualify your success, your failures or your mistakes. It doesn't qualify. It just says, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. Oh, we have another one. 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 It doesn't qualify. It just brings them up. We might amplify it because we focus on it. It's like, oh man, how could I do that? I sent the email that had the wrong date in there. Oh my God. We amp it up. We amplify it. But your brain's just like, nope. There it is. It just picks it up. So that's why it's important for us to think positive. But this is also why it's important not to qualify it. Listen, the fact that you were able to get up and walk when you were a baby, it's a victory and a success. The fact you were to pass that class, it was a success. The fact that you were able to handle that situation with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, that's good. The fact you made it to your kid's soccer game on time like you said you were gonna do, that's good. The fact that you graduated like you said you were going to, that's good. You finished the program you went into, that's good. The certification you were gonna do, that's good. Like all of those things, everything. Don't say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Everybody has degrees. Other people passed his certification. No. Don't do that. Don't do that as you're making this exhaustive list. If you did it, if you set out to do it and you did it, put it down. Period. Every single victory, every single achievement, every single success, write it down. Because you need the ammunition. You want to connect these together. When you start seeing them, you're like, dang, I'm a bad man in my gym. I'm something serious. But I'm a real one right now. Look at all this stuff that I've done in my life. Look at all these people I've helped. Look at all these things that I've changed. Look at all these things I've overcome, things I've achieved. You can be like, dang, I'm really out here doing this thing. So now you've trained your mind to find the positive, and now you're actually looking at all the positive you're doing. What do you think that's going to do to your self-confidence without having to do anything at all? Without doing anything. We didn't even get into anything really yet. It's going to shoot up because you're going to start looking at yourself different. And that's even part of it as well. We'll get to that. So now, we talked about the victories. Now let's look at the mistakes we've made. We're connecting the victories, we're disconnecting the mistakes. But we're not just disconnecting the mistakes, we're learning from them. You're looking at every single mistake, and I want you to analyze it. I want you to look at it. I want you to say to yourself, okay, what did I get from this situation? Okay, man, maybe I dropped the game, win a touchdown, but what could I have done different? What could I have learned from it? How have I grown from this situation? Okay, I messed up my first, our relationship. Okay, what did I learn from that? Oh man, I shouldn't have talked like that. Shouldn't have behaved like that. I should have been more loving. I should have been more kind. Oh, dang, I really messed up with my kid that one time. Okay, how can I go about doing things different? That's how we need to look at our mistakes. It's all learning experiences. We never, listen, you win or learn, but you never lose. If you do what I'm telling you to do right now, you either win or you learn, but you never lose. So important. Analyze those mistakes, process those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and then they lose their power. And your brain, what it does, your brain treats your mistakes like it treats your emotions. Once you get the message, once you learn it, it processes, say, okay, cool, and puts it away. It's not going to perseverate on it. Because when you look back on it, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't have learned what I need to learn today. I wouldn't be the woman I am today. I wouldn't be those things if I didn't learn from my mistakes. So now we've disconnected them, processed them, and put them away. All you have now is the positive. Couple other things, right? I know we're going a little long today, but y'all stay with me, man. I'm going to change your life forever. Listen, don't compare yourself to anybody. Let me say it one more time. Do not compare yourself to anybody. Refrain from making comparisons. Why? Because no two people are alike. We may have similarities. Our skin colors might be similar. Our cultures might be similar. Our families might be similar, but we are not the same. Think about it. When we compare products, right? Say, because I'm thinking about getting a speaker system for my wife's car. I need a little bit more thump in the trunk, but that's for another day. When I'm going out looking for those speakers, I need to compare apples to apples, right? Speakers have the same system. They're kind of built the same way. Some have a little bit of nuances and the different tiers and all that stuff like that, but it's apples to apples. They do the same thing, operate the same way, move the same way. So I'm just looking for, okay, well, does this have a feature I like? Does that have a feature I like? Whatever. But when it comes to people, we're not the same in those ways. Do we have similarities? Absolutely, we have similarities. Do we have some experiences that kind of coincide? Yes, but how we think about it, how we feel about it, how we acted in that situation is entirely different. Entirely different. I was talking to one of my clients this morning, and I was saying, same thing, not to compare, because I have a different lived experience. I have different things going on in my life, different variables that are not in your life. And if those variables were in your life, you might respond differently. So we can't make a comparison. However, what we can do is we can look and see, hey, are those some skills or strategies that I can apply to myself and apply to my life that I can then share, that I can then use, that I can then implement to help correct my situation? Similar to this podcast right now, anybody can take this information and change their life. But the changes are going to look different for you because you might be going through something that I haven't been through before, that I haven't experienced before. Your experiences kind of coalesce and make you who you are. So since we don't have the same experiences, we won't necessarily have the exact same outcome. It'll look the same. But as long as we're connecting our successes and our victories, and we're thinking positive, and we're stopping the distortions, then we'll have the positivity and that stuff on the other side. But we will not be the same. So don't worry about comparison. Just learn the skills and apply them. Now, make a plan. Make a plan. All right. So more often than not, a lot of the stuff we've probably done so far, you might be like, well, that was all just a fluke, or that just happened, or I just muscled my way through, whatever the case may be. Okay, cool, whatever. Remember, we're not qualifying it. It is what it is. But now what we need to do, my mom always says, when you know better, you do better. We need to start making plans. We need to start being strategic. We need to start making sure that we are setting things up in a systematic way so that we can guarantee success on the other side. So we can guarantee that what you set out to do, you're going to accomplish. And that comes to making a plan, setting a goal. I'm not going to go deep into it right now, but SMARTY goals. Make sure you're setting SMARTY goals. Remember, specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, time-bound, and exciting. Make sure your goals follow that template. If your goal doesn't follow that template, then maybe you need to either adjust your goal or adjust something about it. But you need to know where you're going, what you're doing, how long it's gonna take to get there, how you're making progress, is it even possible? You need to know that because you gotta track your goals and your progress on a daily and weekly and monthly and quarterly and yearly basis. And the more you do that, the more you're guaranteeing your success. The other part to that is you need to have good habits. Habits are systems we create to get things done automatically. That's what a habit is. It's very difficult for us to operate off willpower and grind and hustle over and over. That's wearing on us. Mentally, physically, emotionally, it wears on us. So we need to create systems, and we create systems by creating habits. Now, I strongly recommend you read the book Atomic Habits. We say this one. I strongly, heavily, with everything that's within me, recommend that you read Atomic Habits. Got to, right? I'm gonna give you a few quick snippets of things, habits that you could do to help you with your plan, setting up systems. So one thing is called habit stacking. Habit stacking is simply, you already have a set pattern, you already have habits, you have a new habit you want to do, and you attach it to a habit you're already doing. So you put it in the rotation. So it's like, new habit, So that's one. 2, make sure you start slow. When you have a new habit, don't be gung-ho. I'm going to go to the gym 10 days a week, and then I'm going to, be in there for 17 hours. And no. System overload. Your brain doesn't operate like that. You cannot dump a whole bunch of stuff into your brain, and then all of a sudden, boom, now it's changed. It doesn't work like that. Our brain takes time to reprogram. It takes time to reprogram. That's why I said for the daily gratitude list, at least 60 days every day, 3 things every day. Shouldn't take you more than about 30 seconds to maybe a minute to do it, but every single day, and then the brain starts to learn. It starts, okay, this is what we do now. This is what we look for now. All right. So it's the exact same thing. Start small, no more than 2 minutes. Just do something for 2 minutes. If it's, I want to start reading more. Start reading for 2 minutes. I want to start working out. Get on the treadmill for 2 minutes. Walk around your house for 2 minutes. Just do it for 2 minutes. Keep it small. Make it too easy not to do, right? Which is actually the next thing, which gets to kind of tie together. Make it too easy not to do. I remember one time when I used to go on my prayer walks, I was like, man, I really need to go on my prayer walks, but I do not feel like tying my shoes. I know it sounds ridiculous. But I promise you, that was enough to keep me from going out. Just having to get my shoes on and tie them. So what did I do? I made it easy. I got slip-on shoes that I put the socks in. And guess what happened? Easy to go out and pray. Easy. Go out and just walk, come back. Easy. Consistency jumped up drastically simply because I made it easy to do. And the last thing, right, the last tip I'm going to give as far as this, the book has way more. The last thing is eliminate distractions. Make it too difficult to do the things that distract you. So if you know, like I was talking to my son the other day, and I said to him, and he's like, well, being in front of the TV is distracting. Right. So I'm like, well, you need to set up a system that makes it impossible or it's too difficult for you to be distracted by the TV. So I was like, you just stay at school. So you do your stuff at school. Guess what's not at school? A TV. So guess what he can't do? Be distracted by it. Same thing. You can have someone on our phones nowadays. You can set up screen time on your stuff. So if you're like, oh man, I want to be more productive during the day, get a friend, get a spouse, get somebody, a brother, a sister, whatever, and have them set up screen time on your phone. And have it block out all the fun apps throughout the day so you can't go to them. Make it too hard to do. That's how you eliminate those distractions. Again, guys, those are just a few quick tips. I strongly recommend you read the book. It's powerful, but you need these systems so you can better achieve your goals. All right? And save your brain power for the things that are more important, like creating and doing things like that. 2 more, and then we're going to get out of here, right? The next one is manifestation. We become what we think about. We become what we dwell on. So what I want you to do in this part is I want you to imagine what and who you want to be. And I want you to be as detailed as possible. I remember, I don't remember if I said this in another video, but I remember when I was doing like my meditation and my image of myself. My image of myself was like a 6'2" guy who was just like muscular in like old school Aztec like garb, like I was like ripped. And I had I think I had a crown on too. I was like on a throne. I had like I don't know, one of those like loincloth type things. But I was like it was just like I was commanding respect. I was like, I was like, dang, that's who I would imagine myself over and over and over. And you might think, well, Keith, you're only 5'8". You're not going to be 6'2". You're going to manifest yourself into 6'2". No, I'm not going to manifest myself into 6'2". No, that's not going to happen. At least I don't think it's going to happen. But the height was not just about, it was about presence. That's how I imagine myself. So I imagine myself like that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Why? Because that's what I want to be. That's what I see myself as. So guess what? I start doing what that version of myself does. I start moving and talking and acting and thinking and everything like that version of myself does. And the more you put it in your brain, the more your brain wants to make it a reality. And to truly supercharge it, you need to be generating those positive emotions. You need to focus on them. Happiness, peace, joy, love, gratitude, appreciation, generating those things as you're imagining yourself, as you imagine yourself moving in the boardroom, as you imagine yourself getting married, as you imagine yourself being a good parent, as you imagine yourself being a good son or a good daughter, as you imagine yourself being a good employee, as you imagine yourself starting your businesses. You need to generate those feelings. What does it feel like? So not just what I see myself as, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be proud? What does it feel like to be successful? What does it feel like to be happy? Like, generate those feelings. And the more you generate those feelings, the more your brain's like, ooh, we need this. What do we gotta do to make that happen? Do that 15 minutes every day. If you have a hard time with that, if you have a hard time imagining, like my thoughts are all over the place, take some time to write it out. Be detailed. And again, just imagine it over and over and over. That visualization plus the emotionalizing is going to bring that version of you to pass. So connect to a positive network. So important. Get around other people who are like-minded. Get around other people who are positive. Get around other people who are going to build you up and pour into you and support you and lift you up. And you can do the same to them. All that positivity, just like I was talking about the positive emotion and manifestation, it's important in the groups we are in as well. Because if you got everybody vibrating at a high frequency, guess what you're going to do? You're going to raise your vibration. But if you're around people who vibrate at a low frequency, which is usually they're really negative and Debbie Downers and all things like that, then they're going to drag you down. So you got to make sure you're around a positive network. That you talk to these people, engage with these people, share with these people. You guys build off of one another, feed off of one another, spend time with one another. Make sure you have that positive network. So important. And the last thing. Self-care. Now you want self-care in every way you could get it. You want to build yourself up with educationally, anything you're listening to, you're watching, you're reading. You want to make sure it's empowering and uplifting, or most of those things are empowering and uplifting, right? And teaching. You want to make sure that, right? That's part of your self-care. Physical health, you want to make sure you're working out, lifting weights. You already know what I always say about that. You need to make sure you're lifting weights. And when you lift weights, you need to make sure you're lifting heavy. Heavy is subjective, because heavy to me might not be heavy to you, or heavy to you may not be heavy to me. Whatever is heavy for you. So if the bar is heavy, lift that. If you need 10 caddies on there to be heavy, lift that. You need to press your body, push your body, strain your body so that you can grow. I cannot stress this enough. I understand people are like, yoga and Pilates and running and biking and just play your favorite sport and all that stuff like that. I get it. Doing something is obviously better than doing nothing, but doing the best thing is better than doing the thing that's not the best thing. And you cannot convince me otherwise that the best thing for the human body is weight lifting, resistance training. So take care of your body, lift heavy, do that. Diet, relaxation. Make sure you're doing those things as part of your self-care. Make sure you're getting a lot of rest. Make sure you're being able to process things. Don't just hold things in mentally. Make sure you're processing things, getting them out. You can hop into journaling on that. You can talk to someone about that. Just get those things out. Don't let them sit on your heart. Don't let them sit on your mind, right? That's self-care, really important. Spiritually, spend time with God. If you don't believe in God, go out in nature. Just spend time in nature. Listen, it's so important to disconnect from all this stuff we got going on in order to just ground ourselves spiritually. So we need to make sure that we're taking time as part of our self-care to do that. And there's all other types of self-care. You want to do, your financial. Make sure your finances are in order so that's not a stress to you. All these types of things. Anything that's going to help you improve you, better you, help you relax, help you to be exactly what you need to be so you can go and kill it wherever you are. Now, that's it, guys. That is it. I promise that's it. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you for showing up. Guys, if you need any help with any of these, please reach out. Please, please, please reach out. Reach out, right? I'm here to help. You can set something up, get something going, and get you on your way and get you to where you need to be. Remember, we're improving the world by improving you. And FCS Prep, this whole podcast is about real change right now. I love you guys. Have a great, awesome, and blessed day, and I'll see you all soon.